It was designed to be the most splendid social event of Prussia in 1888, a dazzling celebration unparalleled in its magnificence. Yet the mood was strangely somber. Both the day of the celebration and the following day required the official court mourning to be observed, as Emperor Wilhelm I had passed away just about 2 months prior, leaving the Prussian court still in mourning. The subject here is the wedding of Prince Henry, the second eldest son of Emperor Frederick III, with Irene of Hesse-Darmstadt on May 24, 1888. A true dream wedding born of love and a dazzling family celebration of the European high nobility, filled with grandeur and elegance. Thus, the bride of Empress Victoria was elegantly adorned with the Prussian princess crown. For Emperor Frederick III, however, the wedding of his second son was to be his last public appearance. The preparations for the grand celebration, as well as the renovation work at Charlottenburg Palace, were personally overseen by the emperor, who was already confined to a wheelchair, mustering his last reserves of strength to do so. The fact that this wedding was not only overshadowed by the death of Wilhelm, the grandfather of the groom, but also by concern for the father's very serious health condition, highlights the entire tragedy of the year of the three emperors in 1888. In early March, when there was hardly any hope left for the aging Wilhelm, Bismarck had telegraphed the Crown Prince, informing him that his return to Berlin was necessary, as the emperor desired it, to see his son one last time before his death. Crown Prince Friedrich himself was in Italy at that moment, already visibly weakened by his severe cancer illness. Given his poor health condition, the doctors strongly advised Friedrich against the arduous journey to the cold climate of Germany, but the Crown Prince's sense of duty ultimately overrode medical reason. But the distance was too great, the journey took too long, and when Friedrich arrived on the 11th, March 1888 finally arrived in Berlin, his father, Emperor Wilhelm I, had already been dead for 2 days. Now Friedrich was so severely weakened by the strains of the journey that he couldn't even attend the funeral ceremonies or the burial of his father in the mausoleum at Charlottenburg Palace Park. In the overwhelming sympathy of the population, the immense appreciation for this emperor and king became unmistakably clear, deeply felt among both the Prussian people and the broader German populace. In total, after the emperor's death and until the end of the monarchy in 1918, around 1,000 Kaiser Wilhelm monuments were erected throughout Germany. In Berlin, they built the Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church as a tribute. However, he could have taken the Prussian crown 26 years earlier during the constitutional clash with the Prussian House of Representatives, when his father's signed abdication document was already ready and placed on the table. After just 1 year on the throne, Wilhelm saw no future for his policies due to the strong opposition in the House of Representatives. At that time, Wilhelm I saw the appointment of Otto von Bismarck as the last resort. It is an irony of history that the later Iron Chancellor ultimately owed his unparalleled career to the liberally minded heir to the throne. In the year 1871, it was not just the Prussian Prime Minister who pressed the King of Prussia to accept his elevation as German Emperor, but also the people themselves who strongly supported this move. Both had their special part in ensuring that on January 1871, in the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles, the founding of the German Empire and the proclamation of the Prussian King Wilhelm took place. It is part of the tragedy of the eternal Crown Prince that he was only granted 99 days as emperor. How much hope did liberals place in the second German emperor? At first, it hadn't seemed at all likely that little Friedrich Wilhelm would ever become the Prussian crown prince. But with each year that his uncle Friedrich Wilhelm IV remained childless, the likelihood grew that his father Wilhelm would one day become king, and Friedrich in turn the crown prince. Young Frederick received a broad and varied education, encouraged by his parents' many interests. His father Wilhelm ensured that Friedrich embarked on a military career at a very young age. His mother took great care to ensure his intellectual development and a solid academic education. He was to be the first Prussian heir to the throne to study at a university, namely in Bonn. During the Revolution of 1848, Friedrich was just 17 years old and experienced firsthand how the Berliners' bullets flew around his ears. However, this did not turn him into a reactionary. Instead, he became firmly convinced that liberalization was essential for a future for Prussia, especially in view of the growing emigration of disappointed Prussians to America. Frederick knew that the best, the most active, and the most determined were always the first to leave the country. He also knew that Prussia could not afford to lose so many people. The rise of Great Britain to become the world's #1 power proved that a constitutional order does not have to stand in the way of a country's prosperity, but can even inspire it. His connection with Britain was greatly reinforced by the presence of the young Princess Victoria. The eldest daughter of Queen Victoria and her husband Albert of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, Friedrich had first encountered her when she was just a 10-year-old girl during his journey to the World Exhibition in 1851. In 1858, Friedrich married his Vicky, despite the considerable opposition to this union that existed within certain influential circles in both countries. Especially in Prussia, those who were supporters of the traditionally good relations with Russia viewed the alliance with Great Britain with skepticism. The liberal, keenly intellectual Victoria, despite her strikingly radiant appearance, didn't have it easy at all in Prussia. In this context, she can be seen as part of a tradition of strong queens, from Sophie Charlotte through Louise all the way to Augusta. But during that period, she was mostly regarded as the Englishwoman and encountered widespread rejection. On January 25, 1858, the marriage ceremony of the Prussian Prince Friedrich and the Princess Royal Victoria was held in the Royal Chapel of St. James's Palace in London took place. Prior to the wedding, there had been disagreements between the Prussian and English courts regarding whether Berlin or London should host the ceremony. Queen Victoria ultimately succeeded in getting her way. Crown Prince Friedrich, on the other hand, would himself become a popular war hero in the 1860s. In the Battle of Königgrätz, he led the 2nd Prussian Army Corps. 4 years later, the Crown Prince commanded the 3rd Prussian Army in the Franco-Prussian War. They defeated the French. After the war, he was promoted to Field Marshal, and the Crown Prince was celebrated as one of Germany's greatest war heroes. But in peacetime, he lost his political influence once more and had to step back into the second row behind Bismarck and the Emperor. Only one appearance on the stage of great politics was granted to the Crown Prince couple. In 1878, Europe stood on the brink of war after Russia had defeated the Ottoman Empire and dictated peace terms, which would have granted the Russians the long-desired access to the straits at the Bosporus and consequently direct entry to the Mediterranean Sea. Above all, Great Britain protested vehemently and threatened war. That was Bismarck's hour. He invited all the parties involved to a congress in Berlin, aiming to resolve the conflict peacefully as an honest broker. Since Kaiser Wilhelm had not yet recovered his strength after an assassination attempt, Crown Prince Friedrich became the official host of the peace conference. He hosted a grand gala dinner at Sanssouci, where the court kitchen showcased its finest skills, to satisfy the most refined and demanding palates of Europe's political elite. Not far from Sanssouci, the Crown Prince couple had lived on the picturesque Crown estate of Bornstedt since 1867. Friedrich and Victoria didn't stay here year-round, but used Bornstedt estate, along with the new palace, as their summer residence in Potsdam, while they continued to spend the winter season in the Crown Princess Palace in Berlin. Just as Friedrich Wilhelm III and Louise once did in Paret's Palace, the Crown Prince couple developed Gut Bornstedt into a model agricultural estate. The grain, fruit, vegetables, eggs, poultry, and meat produced here fulfilled only a portion of the royal table's needs, yet the advanced agricultural techniques at Gut Bornstedt ensured their products were of the highest quality. But the prosperity of the Crown Estate Bornstedt lasted only a few years, and with the death of Emperor Friedrich, it came to a swift end. Due to persistent sore throat and a long-lasting, steadily worsening hoarseness of the Crown Prince, several physicians debated fiercely over the correct diagnosis. No signs of a cancerous condition were detected in the tissue sample that was examined. And yet, in the end, it turned out to be throat cancer. Due to his illness, the emperor often conducted government affairs outdoors. The woodcut shows him in front of his park tent in Charlottenburg. Frederick III could only communicate through written notes and had to endure excruciating, relentless pain. Again and again he struggled for breath and was on the verge of suffocating. On one of his notes he wrote, "Learn to suffer without complaining." His mother-in-law, Queen Victoria, came once more in April with her personal physician. But even he could no longer save the terminally ill. On June 15, 1888, Frederick III passed away, after merely 99 days as emperor and king.